Yes, yes. This time of the year is so exciting. Like you just bringing all the players back, coming from holidays, and just the looking ahead of the season. We had, I believe, it was a very strong fall season. We have four guys ranked in the singles ranking. We got two doubles teams ranked, and it was. I think it's one of the strongest fall men's tennis has ever had. But the one thing I keep telling the guys is that doesn't mean anything. We still got to compete. We still got to play. Even though we had a great fall, but it's just exciting to see everybody back. Um, you know, we had a good preseason of practicing. We did it 2 days, and the guys are working really hard, and now we're just ready. We're starting tomorrow, Wednesday. That's our first matches, and we're just super excited to be here and playing, and just see what we can do.
Rodrigo, with a group that you have some expectation and some talent back, I mean, we were talking with Mark about the schedule. How do you schedule knowing what you're going to go up against when you get to the ACC? And do you make it a little more difficult on this group?
Yeah, I mean, we actually were just talking about the schedule. As we're sitting outside, our schedule is really, really, really hard. I mean, besides the ACC schedule that is always tough, we got teams like Florida State that, last year were in the 30s. Now this year they're 14 or 13. And you got teams like Duke that is actually higher. So everybody's getting better. So that's one thing I keep telling the guys. I say, well, I know we're playing well. I know we're doing good stuff, but we still got to keep playing. We still got to keep competing. And my mentality has always been to play the best competition, right? That's how you get better. So every time I schedule with the mentality that we're going to have a good team and we better figure it out how to play the best team so we can get better every year. So that's my mentality every year. I could be wrong, but hopefully, I think right now it's working.
Is there a difference, or I guess what is the difference of, last year having the success and now this year having the rankings and having a little bit more of a target on your back?
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation that we're having with the team. These guys can attest to it. My biggest saying is that the wrong expectations can lead to a lot of frustration. So we got to make sure we have the right expectations, which is even though we have a high ranking, even though we have ranked players, we still got to compete. So, it's not because we have Nathan who's 25 in the country. That doesn't mean he's going to beat everybody, just because of his ranking. That means he has a bigger target on his back, and he's got to, compete and expect the best of every player that he plays. And as you said, right now we do have a target on our back. Last year, I think we started the year at 50 in the country or something like that. We got to 22 at one point. Right now, we got a lot of votes to be in the top 25, but we're not in the top 25. But we are a high-ranked team that a lot of people want to have a chance to beat and get their rankings up. So it's a different mentality, I think. But the one thing I keep telling the guys, we just got to compete every single time.
Rodrigo, was there anything in particular that you in this program learned from going through the experiences of last year? I mean, that was the first run to the ACC semifinal, going to the tournament. Was there anything that you learned from that has maybe helped the training and the offseason this year?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's another thing I say all the time. You learn from every experience that you have. The experience that we had last year, we saw. Especially talking about the NCAAs, I could tell the guys were a little bit overwhelmed. There was a lot of, like cameras and a lot of things going around, and all the NCAA banners and the competition. I think we got a little bit overwhelmed with that, and some of the best players, some of the guys who were having the best results last year did not play really well. And we talked about it, and they're like, yeah, we got a little nervous, a little anxious. So that's one thing that right away, I think the expectations of like we belong here. We should be doing this all the time. So don't feel overwhelmed by the situation. So I think that's one thing that I'm hoping that the guys are gonna, this year's like we expect to be there. We expect to win those matches. We expect to compete to the highest level with everybody, and just act like we belong. So that's something definitely that we learn.
Obviously, the expectation levels are continuing to climb. As you are on the eve of your season starting, how do you feel about potentially meeting those expectations right out of the gate?
Well, I don't want to talk too much because I don't want to get their confidence up. But honestly, I think that we had a good conversation with the team about our goals and what we want to do. And I have zero doubt that we can get there. but once again, I keep saying this just because the guys need to hear. But it's we just got to compete. We got to be ready to compete every single day. But we do feel really good about the team. I think at the moment right now, it's probably the deepest team we ever had. In terms of 1 through 9. I mean, anybody could play. I mean, Alex 2 years ago was playing 6 and beating ranked players all the time, and he can play no problem. We got doubles matchups and doubles teams that we can put it together. So we feel really good about the depth of the team. Staying healthy is always going to play a big part, but we feel really confident that we can definitely achieve the things that we want to achieve, and hopefully higher.
Rodrigo, when you have that depth, when you have the expectations and the rankings, how do you put a lineup together, and do you change some things early in the season to see kind of what works to kind of get that perfect lineup?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I've been racking my brain the last couple of days on how are we going to play, or how are we going to do it. When you don't have the depth, you're like, man, I wish I had depth. And now I have the depth. I was like, man, I wish I didn't have the depth, so I know who I'm going to play. But it's just fun. It's a good problem to have. I have like Andre and Andre Steinbach and Will Mayu from North Carolina, who, I mean, those guys are battling so hard to get a spot in the lineup, and I feel very confident they can play and just handle themselves no problem. But we have an experienced team this time. I remember sitting down with you guys and not too long ago, and we have a super young team. Now we have an old team, and we have a lot of experience, but it's just like trying to do the matchups, trying to get the best guys. I always tell the guys I'm going to play. I never coach to lose, so I'm going to hopefully make the right decisions to put the right players in. And and one thing that I also love about this team is that there's not a selfish guy who says, hey, I need to play at this lineup position, or otherwise I'm not happy. I can put guys at number 5 or 6 or 1. It doesn't matter. They're all happy. They all want to compete, and they all want to win. So that's one culture that I'm really happy about it, that we were able to establish.
For the guys, kind of talk about the competition, or let's talk about the expectations first. How different is it competing this season, with a bigger target on your backs?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of us, last year was an awesome experience to kind of get a taste of NCAA tournament, stuff like that. And this year, as Coach mentioned, it's going to be a little bit different going into these matches, where last year we were kind of the underdog. We were going after teams. This year it's going to be reversed. So I think we all understand that, and I think we're handling it correctly as much as we can without having played a match. But I think we're ready for that, and I think everyone is kind of on the same page as far as what needs to be done, the work that needs to be done. Last year doesn't mean anything for this year, so we have to prove ourselves again, and I think ultimately that's what's going to be important this year, and I think we're ready to do it for sure.
Fabian, what do you feel like as far as with the competition? How much does it help everybody to drive everybody to kind of keep up with the next guy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first of all, I wasn't there last year, so I was never really in a team with like high expectations. So it's really exciting for me because I've never really been in that situation. But I think, like Coach said and Alex said, the fact that we now have like a target in our back a little bit, and people have expectations of us to be like a good team, I think it helps us in practice. Like, hey, like this is our standards. Like we got to live up to that standards and practice like this every day. And there is no time to not give 100%. Like this is it. Like people are expecting you to be good, so you better be good, because if you're not good, you're not gonna do very well. So no, I think it's very exciting, and the locker room is very excited about that, to like have expectations.
Speaking of you not being here last year, just kind of talk about being back. And did you miss Coach, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I did actually, and I'm super excited to be back. For me, this place really is like home, and once I was coming back, I was super excited, and I felt very comfortable right away. It just felt like nothing changed when I came back, and so yeah, I'm super excited to see all the new guys. There's not that many of them actually, because when I came back, most of the guys that were here were there when I was there back in the days. So yeah, for me, it's just like another year. Really, nothing has changed except, like we mentioned, expectations. But it's really, really excited.
In this whole transfer portal era of all these sports, you're kind of a unique situation of leaving and going and then coming back. What was it like for you to make that decision to come back? And I guess how difficult was it?
Well, it was difficult to leave, and then obviously, like you mentioned, like the transfer portal is like a thing that's growing up right now in every sport, but also in tennis. And I think making that decision to come back was a choice, something that I really wanted. And if I could do my last year of college anywhere, I would do it. I would want to do it here because this is my 5th year. So, and I decided to do it here, and I really don't regret it at all. I'm just super, super happy that this is going to be my last year, and not happy that it's going to be my last year, but happy that it's here, obviously. So, yeah.
Coach, can you? It is kind of a unique situation of having someone go, come back. What was the call or maybe the conversation like?
It was absolutely amazing. It was, the coach from Arizona State. We talked about it, Fabian going there, because it was a tough. I think I'm hopefully saying the right thing, but Fabian and I were, we have a good connection, and we came to the office and he made a decision to transfer, and I think it was a tough decision for him, and it was tough for us, and there was some tears in that office when that happened, and so I talked to the coach from Arizona State, and and I said, you're getting a good guy, so I know the guy really well as well, so. And then when he called me back, he said, hey, man, I think the guy wants to come back. And I'm like, I don't know if that's possible, And then, when then we, compliance in the new transfer portal world and, everything made possible. And it was just amazing to have Fabian back when, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I do have some hesitations at transfer portal with some guys. But when Fabian says I want to come back, there was no hesitation. We wanted him back. And we had a great chemistry before. And that was amazing, and like he said, it feels like nothing happened. And we talked about last year, and I always include him, and it was like, oh, I forget, you're not there. So it was incredible. So it was a good connection. All right, thank you.